The quantum sensors aboard the Meridian Alliance flagship Eternal Wisdom hummed with a peculiar resonance that Chief Xenobiologist Naira Tavel had never encountered in her 3 centuries of service. She adjusted her crystalline form, refracting light through her faceted body to enhance her perception of the data streams. High Commander, she projected her thoughts directly to the ship's neural network. These readings from Sol system deserve immediate attention. High Commander Vexthor's massive form shifted in the command cradle, tentacles writhing with mild irritation at the interruption. The primitive system. We detected their first faster-than-light test just 3 cycles ago. Hardly worth our attention. With respect, Commander, there's something different about these beings. Naira pulsed data through the ship's crystalline matrix. Their development curve is unprecedented. The bridge fell silent as the information cascaded through their shared consciousness. In just 50 of their planetary years, these humans had progressed from primitive atmospheric aircraft to crude space stations, and now to their first successful FTL test. The achievement itself wasn't remarkable. Many species eventually stumbled upon the basics of fold space travel. What set humans apart was the chaotic, almost reckless speed of their advancement. Fascinating, Vexthor admitted, but also concerning. Such rapid progress without proper guidance often leads to disaster. We should establish contact and begin the standard integration protocol. Naira's crystalline structure flickered with unease. Commander, I recommend we approach with caution. Their historical records show. Your concern is noted, Xenobiologist. Vexthor interrupted. But the Meridian Alliance has successfully integrated over 300 species. Our protocols are time-tested and absolute. As if to punctuate the commander's confidence, the ship's sensors detected a small human vessel emerging from fold space at the edge of their solar system. The craft was primitive by Alliance standards, all angular metal and exposed heat sinks, lacking the organic-synthetic integration that marked truly advanced civilizations. Perfect timing, Vexthor announced. Establish standard first contact protocols. The Eternal Wisdom decloaked, its massive crystalline form shimmering into visibility like a mountain materializing from morning mist. At 15 kilometers in length, it was designed to inspire awe in developing species, demonstrating the rewards of joining the Alliance. The human ship, designated HSV Curiosity, was barely visible against the star field, less than 100 meters of metal and ceramics. The Alliance ship's quantum arrays easily penetrated its primitive shields, analyzing every detail of the vessel and its crew of 12. Fascinating primitive life support systems, Naira observed. They're still dependent on liquid water and atmospheric pressure. Yet, she paused, her crystalline form pulsing with confusion. They've somehow adapted their fold space drive in ways I've never seen. Before Vexthor could respond, a massive energy surge erupted from their star. A solar flare, far larger than anything their predictive models had anticipated, swept toward both ships like a tsunami of plasma and radiation. Impossible. Vexthor's tentacles writhed in alarm. Our stellar predictions are never wrong. Raise quantum shields. The Eternal Wisdom's defensive systems engage, creating a perfect bubble of protected space around the massive vessel. They were in no danger, but Naira's attention was fixed on the tiny human ship. Commander, the humans. Their shields can't possibly. But the Curiosity was already moving. Instead of raising shields or attempting to flee, the human ship turned directly into the flare. Their engines flared with a peculiar resonance, and suddenly their primitive fold space drive activated in a way that defied Alliance understanding. The humans weren't trying to escape. They were using the solar flare itself. Naira's sensors tracked the impossible as the human ship rode the wave of plasma like an ancient sailing vessel, their modified drive somehow drawing power from the very forces that should have destroyed them. They weren't just surviving. They were surfing the solar flare, using its energy to boost their speed far beyond their drive's normal capabilities. Impossible, Vexthor whispered, all 4 eyes fixed on the display. Their technology is too primitive for such manipulation. No, Naira corrected, her crystalline form bright with excitement. Their technology is different. They didn't try to overcome the flare with brute force like we would. They adapted, used it, turned a deadly threat into an advantage in ways we never considered. The Curiosity shot past them, riding the solar wave like a leaf in a stream, and for a brief moment, their communications array picked up a transmission. It wasn't the fear or panic they expected, but laughter. Human laughter, full of exhilaration and joy in the face of what should have been certain death. "Commander," Naira's voice carried an urgent harmony, "I must insist we reconsider our standard protocols. These humans, they don't think like us. Their solutions don't follow our logic. In just this brief encounter, they've demonstrated an ability to innovate that I've never seen in any species." Vexthor's tentacles curled in thought. "You believe they're dangerous. I believe they're extraordinary," Naira corrected. "And yes, that makes them dangerous, but potentially invaluable as well. We need to study them more before attempting contact. Standard protocols won't suffice." The commander's response was cut short as their sensors detected something new. The Curiosity had dropped out of their makeshift solar serve and now hung in space nearby. A transmission came through, translated by their quantum arrays. "Unknown vessel, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the HSV Curiosity. Thanks for the show. Your ship is absolutely beautiful. We'd love to chat, but we've got a colony ship to meet. They're probably worried sick since we're running late. Feel free to follow if you'd like to talk. We'll put on some coffee." The casual confidence of the message, as if they hadn't just performed an impossible feat of stellar engineering with primitive technology, left the bridge in stunned silence. "Follow them?" Vexthor asked, genuine uncertainty in his voice for the first time in centuries. Naira's crystalline form pulsed with determination. "Commander, I believe we must, but not as instructors or guides. For the first time in the Alliance's history, we need to approach a species as students." The Curiosity's engines flared again, and the tiny ship disappeared into fold space, leaving the mighty Alliance vessel floating in its wake, faced with a decision that would reshape the galaxy's future. High Commander Vexthor, leader of the most powerful civilization known to exist, found himself doing something unprecedented, taking advice from his xenobiologist about a species that had barely achieved spaceflight. "Plot a course to follow them," he commanded, "and prepare to compose a very interesting report to the Alliance Council." As the Eternal Wisdom's engines powered up, Naira focused her sensors on the residual energy trail left by the human ship. Everything about their readings defied convention, ignored established principles, and somehow worked better for it. The galaxy was about to change, and for once, the Meridian Alliance would have to adapt instead of demanding adaptation from others. The age of certainty was over, and the age of human innovation was about to begin. 3 months after the solar flare incident, Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before the Meridian Alliance Security Council, trying not to feel overwhelmed by the array of alien beings surrounding her. As the first human xenotechnologist invited to address the council, she knew her words carried the weight of humanity's future reputation. The council chamber was a testament to advanced alien architecture, a vast spherical space where representatives floated on gravity-controlled platforms, their forms ranging from crystalline beings like Naira to gaseous intelligences contained in sophisticated environmental fields. At the center, High Commander Vexthor's massive form dominated the proceedings. "Counselors," Elena began, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "The pattern in these outpost destructions isn't random. We're dealing with something ancient, something that predates even the Alliance." A ripple of dismissive murmurs swept through the chamber. A being of pure energy, Counselors Extra, pulsed with skepticism. "Dr. Rodriguez, while we appreciate your enthusiasm, the Alliance has analyzed these incidents thoroughly. Our quantum predictive matrices show no discernible pattern." Elena took a deep breath. "That's because you're looking for patterns your technology understands. Whatever's destroying these outposts isn't using conventional weapons or tactics. Look here, she gestured, and her primitive holographic display showed a map of the affected systems. Your analysts focused on spatial relationships, energy signatures, technological markers. But what if we look at something simpler? She highlighted several points on the map. These aren't just attacks. They're tests. Each destruction follows a consistent timeline. First, communications go dark, then power systems fail, and finally, the entire outpost vanishes. But the time between these events varies in a specific way. The council chamber hummed with quiet discussions as Elena continued. It's learning. Testing different methods, analyzing responses, adapting its approach, like a predator studying its prey. Impossible, declared Counselor Trix, his crystalline form flashing with dismissal. Our defensive systems are based on quantum entanglement and artificial intelligence far beyond human understanding. No force could systematically defeat them without leaving traces our sensors would detect. Unless, Elena pressed, it's using something so old, so fundamentally different, that your advanced systems don't recognize it as technology at all. We humans have a saying. Sometimes the forest is hidden by the trees. High Commander Vexthor's tentacles curled with interest. Explain. Your civilization has evolved along a single technological path. Quantum mechanics, artificial intelligence, biological integration. But what if there were other paths? Technologies based on principles you never explored because you found better solutions early in your development. She brought up another display, this one showing energy readings from the destroyed outposts. These spikes here, just before each attack, your sensors classified them as background radiation because they don't match any known weapon signature. But look at them as something else, something older. Naira Tavel, who had been quietly observing, suddenly pulsed with realization. Dimensional resonance, like the primitive fold space drives humans first developed, but orders of magnitude more powerful. Exactly, Elena nodded. While the Alliance perfected quantum technology, whoever built these weapons explored spatial manipulation at its most fundamental level. They don't hack your defenses or overpower them. They simply fold space in ways your sensors can't comprehend, like a paper being crumpled from a dimension we can't see. The chamber erupted in concerned discussion. Vexthor raised several tentacles for silence. If what you suggest is true, Doctor, why haven't these weapons been encountered before? Because something woke them up, Elena said grimly. Something changed in this sector of space recently. Something that triggered automated defenses left behind by a civilization that might have rivaled the Alliance at its peak. Understanding rippled through the chamber. Counselor Zexra's energy form flickered rapidly. The human expansion. Their unorthodox use of fold space technology. Our early fold space experiments might have resonated with these ancient systems, Elena confirmed. We unknowingly activated something that had lain dormant for millennia. But that also means we might be the key to understanding and stopping it. Preposterous, Counselor Trix flashed adamantly. We cannot base our defense strategy on the theories of a species barely out of their gravity well. The Alliance has faced and overcome countless threats through the power of our advanced technology. Elena felt her patience wearing thin. And how's that working out so far? How many outposts have you lost while looking for answers in the same place you always look? The chamber fell silent at her outburst. Even Vexthor's tentacles stilled in surprise at the human's boldness. Counselors, she continued, her voice softer but no less intense, humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to think differently, to find unexpected solutions. We're not asking to take control or dismiss your incredible achievements. We're asking you to consider that sometimes the most advanced solution isn't the right one. Naira moved her platform forward. I support Dr. Rodriguez's analysis. The evidence, while unconventional, is compelling. We cannot afford to dismiss it simply because it doesn't fit our established paradigms. Vexthor's massive form shifted thoughtfully. What do you propose, Doctor? A joint task force, Elena replied immediately. Human fold space experts working alongside Alliance quantum scientists. We need to combine our different perspectives, find a way to detect these weapons before they strike again. And if we refuse? Counselor Trix challenged. Elena met his crystalline gaze steadily. Then you'll keep losing outposts while searching for answers your quantum machines can't give you. The choice is yours, but remember, these weapons adapt. Every failed defense teaches them something new. We don't have time for pride or prejudice. As the council chamber erupted in debate, Elena caught Naira's subtle gesture of approval. The xenobiologist had been humanity's strongest advocate since the solar flare incident, recognizing that different didn't mean inferior. Whether the council would accept their help remained to be seen, but one thing was certain: the galaxy was changing, and the Meridian Alliance would have to change with it, or face the consequences of their rigidity. The question was, would they realize this in time? The unofficial laboratory aboard the Alliance research vessel, Quantum Seeker, hardly matched the pristine standards of their normal facilities. Makeshift human computers sat alongside crystalline quantum processors, and hand-drawn diagrams covered walls designed for holographic displays. But to Dr. Elena Rodriguez, it was a symbol of hope. The temporal distortion is getting stronger, she announced, studying readings from their modified sensors. Whatever these weapons are, they're becoming more aggressive. Naira Tavell shifted her crystalline form to better analyze the data. In the 3 weeks since the council had dismissed Elena's warnings, 5 more outposts had vanished. Now, a small group of Alliance scientists worked in secret with the humans, knowing they were violating dozens of protocols. The council deployed 3 defense fleets this morning, Naira communicated. They still believe overwhelming force is the answer. Commander Kira Chen, sister of the Curiosity's captain and Earth's leading fold space theorist, looked up from her calculations. They're going to lose those fleets. You can't fight something you can't even detect properly. The door whooshed open, admitting High Commander Vexthor. Though officially he knew nothing about this unauthorized collaboration, his presence here spoke volumes. Another outpost gone. Taurus Prime. 300,000 colonists. Just vanished. Elena's hands clenched. Did they at least get readings from the modified sensors we smuggled them? Yes. Vexthor's tentacles produced a data crystal, though the council believes they were standard equipment. The team gathered around as Elena fed the data into their hybrid analysis system. The human computers processed the raw information while Alliance quantum matrices searched for patterns. On the main screen, a chaotic swirl of energy signatures coalesced into something new. There, Kira pointed, that distortion pattern. It's like an echo of early fold space experiments, but twisted somehow, as if space itself is being unknitted, Elena finished, like pulling a thread that unravels the whole fabric. Naira's form pulsed with sudden understanding. The weapons aren't destroying our outposts. They're unmaking them, retroactively erasing their existence from space-time itself. Which is why your quantum predictive matrices can't track them, Kira added excitedly. They're not seeing the weapons because, from their perspective, the targets never existed in the first place. Vexthor's massive form shifted uneasily. If this is true, we're facing something far worse than simple destruction. But how do we fight an enemy that can erase us from history? Elena smiled for the first time in days. We don't fight them. We anchor ourselves. Look at this. She pulled up readings from the HSV Curiosity's solar flare incident. When Sarah used the flare to boost the ship's speed, she accidentally discovered something. Our primitive fold space drives don't just bend space. They create a kind of wake in reality itself. Like ripples in water, Naira mused. Crude but persistent. Exactly. And these ancient weapons, they're not crude. They're precise. Perfect. Too perfect. They erase everything so cleanly that reality itself forgets what was there. But what if we made it messy? Created so many ripples and distortions that they can't get a clean erasure? Kira caught on immediately. We could modify the fold space drives, deliberately make them less efficient, create a kind of temporal wake that would hold reality in place, Elena finished, like staking down a tent in a storm. Vexthor's tentacles writhed with a mixture of hope and concern. The Council will never approve deliberately degrading our technology. Then we don't ask them, Naira said firmly. The Quantum Seeker is equipped with a full fabrication bay. Commander Chen and Dr. Rodriguez have the expertise. We can modify a few ships ourselves, prove it works, and risk everything. Vexthor challenged. Our careers, our standing, possibly our freedom if we're caught. Elena met his gaze steadily. With respect, Commander, we risk everything by doing nothing. These weapons are learning, adapting. Soon, they might not need outposts to target. They could start erasing entire species from existence. Silence fell over the makeshift lab. The weight of the decision pressed down on them all. Finally, Vexthor's tentacles moved in what Elena had learned was a gesture of resignation. My sister commands the 7th Defense Fleet, he said quietly. They're deploying to protect the Centauri colonies tomorrow. If we work through the night, we can have the modifications ready, Kira finished. Small-scale test first, then if it works. When it works, Elena corrected firmly. We've got human ingenuity and alliance technology working together for the first time in history. That's not a combination that fails. As they began their work, Elena caught Naira studying her. The xenobiologist's crystalline form shimmered with what might have been amusement. You know, Naira communicated, when I first argued for studying humanity more closely, I never imagined we'd end up breaking every protocol we have. Elena grinned as she calibrated another sensor array. Get used to it. Humans tend to have that effect on rigid systems. We've got a saying, rules are meant to be broken. How terrifyingly efficient of you, Naira replied, but her tone carried warmth. To break rules in order to save those who made them. Outside the lab, the vast emptiness of space held its ancient threats. But inside, something unprecedented was taking shape. A true collaboration between human and alliance minds, each bringing their unique perspectives to face a challenge neither could overcome alone. The question was, would their solution come in time to save both their civilizations from being erased from history itself? The 7th Defense Fleet hung in the darkness above New Centauri, their sleek hulls reflecting starlight. At its heart, the flagship Stellar Guardian had been hastily modified with Elena and Kira's temporal anchoring system. Admiral Lyra Vexthor, the High Commander's sister, stood on her bridge wondering if she doomed her entire fleet by trusting a human theory. Multiple spatial distortions detected, her sensor officer announced. Classical pattern match with previous outpost attacks. Lyra's tentacles curled with determination. Activate the temporal wake generators. All ships maintain formation delta. The modified drive systems spun up, deliberately creating the messy fold space signatures that Elena had theorized would protect them. To the Alliance crew, it felt wrong, like throwing sand into perfectly calibrated quantum machinery. Admiral, her second-in-command protested, the quantum efficiency ratings are dropping below acceptable parameters. That's the point, Lyra reminded him. Sometimes perfection is the enemy of survival. The first attack came without warning. Space itself seemed to ripple, and one of the outer patrol ships simply vanished. But unlike previous attacks, there was a difference. The ship's quantum wake remained, a ghostly echo of its existence. It worked. Elena's voice came through the comm from the Quantum Seeker, hidden behind New Centauri's largest moon. The temporal anchor held. The weapon couldn't completely erase it from space-time. Before celebration could take hold, more spatial distortions appeared. The ancient weapons had detected something different about their targets and were adapting their approach. Multiple erasure attempts detected, the sensor officer reported. They're trying different frequencies, different approaches. Learning. Lyra's tactical display showed the battle unfolding in 4 dimensions as the weapons probed their defenses. Each attack left more quantum wakes, ships partially erased, but somehow still anchored in reality. Energy spike. Kira's voice cut through the chaos. They're changing tactics. Instead of erasing individual ships, the space around the fleet began to distort, folding in impossible ways. The weapons weren't targeting ships anymore. They were trying to erase the entire region of space containing the fleet. All ships, emergency fold space jump. Lyra commanded. We can't. Her navigation officer responded. Space itself is too distorted. We'll tear ourselves apart if we try to jump. Elena's voice crackled through increasing interference. Admiral, your fleet's temporal wakes. They're creating a pattern. The weapons can't get a clean erasure because the distortions are reinforcing each other. Like a web, Naira added. But it's not stable. We need more distortion points to lock it in place. Lyra understood immediately. All ships, full power to the temporal wake generators. Push them past safety limits if you have to. Admiral, her engineering chief protested. That level of temporal distortion could damage our ships permanently. Better damaged than erased from history, Lyra replied. Do it. The fleet's modified drives screamed in protest as they generated massive fold space distortions. Reality itself seemed to shudder as human inefficiency fought against ancient perfection. On the quantum seeker, Elena stared at her readings in disbelief. The temporal anchor pattern. It's not just protecting the ships, it's revealing something. Through the chaotic distortions in space-time, shapes began to emerge. Vast geometric structures, ancient beyond comprehension, phasing between dimensions. The weapons weren't just weapons, they were fragments of a long-dead civilization's last defense system. They're beautiful, Naira whispered, her crystalline form resonating with the temporal energies. A quantum lattice of pure space-time, programmed to protect their creators from some ancient threat. But their creators are long gone, Kira added. The system is running on automatic, seeing any sufficiently advanced civilization as a potential threat. Elena's hands flew over her console. The lattice structure. It's like a computer program written in the fabric of space itself. If we could just... No time for analysis, Lyra cut in. My ships can't maintain this level of temporal distortion much longer. Elena made a decision. Admiral, I need you to drop your fleet's temporal anchors for exactly 2.3 seconds on my mark. The weapons will try to erase you immediately. That's suicide. Vexthor's voice boomed from behind her. The High Commander had been quietly observing until now. Trust me, Elena pleaded. When they try to erase the fleet, the ancient system will have to fully materialize in normal space for a moment. That's when we'll hit it with everything we've got. Not weapons, but pure information. A signal that says, war's over, stand down in the only language it understands. Quantum mathematics. Lyra's voice was steady. My fleet is ready, Doctor. We trust you. Elena looked at her improvised console, a hybrid of human intuition and Alliance technology. Everything they'd learned about the weapons, about how different approaches could work together, had led to this moment. 3, 2, 1. Mark. The fleet's temporal anchors disengage. For a heartbeat, reality held its breath. Then the ancient weapons struck, space-folding in impossible geometries, as they tried to erase the entire fleet from existence. But Elena was ready. The quantum seeker fired its modified communications array, sending a pulse of pure quantum mathematics into the briefly materialized lattice. The signal carried no weapons, no attacks, just information, a simple message repeated in endless variations. Peace. Stand down. War's end. For a moment that stretched into eternity, nothing happened. Then, like ice melting in spring, the spatial distortions began to fade. The ancient lattice appeared one final time, its geometric beauty visible to all, before gently dissolving into quantum static. In the silence that followed, Lyra's voice came through clear and strong. All ships present and accounted for. We're damaged, but we exist. There was a pause before she added, and I believe we have some humans to thank for that. On the Quantum Seeker's bridge, Alina finally allowed herself to breathe. We did it. We actually did it. No, Naira corrected, her crystalline form glowing warmly. We did it together. Alliance precision and human chaos, working in harmony. Perhaps that's a lesson worth learning. High Commander Vex Thor's tentacles moved in what Alina had learned was his equivalent of a smile. The Council will have no choice but to reconsider their position on human involvement in Alliance affairs now. Though I suspect they won't be entirely happy about how we achieved this victory. Breaking rules to save lives. Alina grinned. That's practically humanity's motto. They'll just have to get used to it. As the fleet limped home, their quantum drives forever changed by the modifications that had saved them, Alina looked out at the stars. The ancient weapons were gone, but they'd left behind something precious. Proof that sometimes the most advanced civilization in the galaxy needed help from the newcomers. Sometimes perfection needed a little chaos to survive. The galaxy would never be the same. And that, she decided, was probably for the best. 1 month after the Battle of New Centauri, the Meridian Alliance's Grand Assembly Hall hosted an unprecedented gathering. For the first time in its history, representatives from a primitive species stood as equals before the assembled wisdom of 1,000 worlds. Alina Rodriguez tried not to fidget as she stood beside Commander Kira Chen and Captain Sarah Chen of the Curiosity. The sisters' presence was a reminder of how this all started, with one small ship surfing the solar flare, showing the Alliance that there was more than one way to solve a problem. High Commander Vex Thor's massive form dominated the central platform, his tentacles moving with formal precision as he addressed the assembly. Honored representatives, we gather today to acknowledge a truth that many of us found difficult to accept. The galaxy is changing, and we must change with it. The vast chamber, with its crystalline architecture and quantum field displays, hummed with murmured discussions. Naira Teville, newly appointed as Chief of Sinological Studies, floated on her platform near the humans, her crystalline form radiating subtle support. The recent crisis, Vex Thor continued, taught us something profound. The Meridian Alliance, for all its advancement, had fallen into the trap of believing that newer always meant better, that complexity always trumped simplicity. The humans proved otherwise. Alina watched as holographic displays showed footage from the battle. Alliance ships generating messy temporal wakes, their imperfect distortions combining to save them from erasure. It looked chaotic, inelegant, and it had worked perfectly. But more than that, the High Commander's voice resonated through the chamber. They showed us that true advancement comes not from perfecting a single path, but from embracing different approaches. The ancient weapons we faced were defeated not by overwhelming force, not by perfect quantum algorithms, but by the combination of Alliance precision and human innovation. Counselor Trix, who had been one of humanity's strongest critics, moved his platform forward. His crystalline form had been modified since the battle, incorporating some of the inefficient patterns that had proven so effective. We propose a new division within the Alliance, the Department of Alternative Technologies. Led jointly by Dr. Rodriguez and Naira Teville, it will explore paths of advancement we may have overlooked in our rush toward quantum perfection. Alina felt her heart race. This was more than acceptance. It was an invitation to reshape the galaxy's technological future. She stepped forward to address the assembly, her voice clear and strong. The Alliance's achievements are extraordinary, she began. You've mastered quantum mechanics, bent space and time to your will, created works of beauty and power that humanity can barely comprehend. But there are other paths, other ways of thinking that deserve exploration. She gestured to the holographic displays, which now showed the hybrid laboratory aboard the Quantum Seeker where their victory had been born. Look at what we achieved when we combined our different approaches. Alliance quantum processors working alongside human computers. Your perfect crystals enhanced by our messy algorithms. That's not a step backward. It's a step sideways, into possibilities we haven't yet imagined. Sarah Chen spoke up next, her casual confidence a stark contrast to the formal assembly setting. "A month ago, most of you thought my ship's solar flare maneuver was reckless, primitive. Now, modified versions of that technique are being incorporated into Alliance flight patterns. Not because it's more advanced, but because sometimes the simple solution is the right one." The assembly chamber filled with approving light patterns and harmonic resonances, the Alliance equivalent of applause. Even the most conservative members had to acknowledge the truth of their words. Naira's form pulsed with joy as she addressed her peers. "For too long, we viewed advancement as a single path leading upward. The humans showed us that progress is more like a tree, with countless branches of possibility. Some may seem primitive at first glance, but each offers unique advantages, unique perspectives that could prove crucial in future challenges." High Commander Vexthor raised his tentacles for attention, which brings us to our final proposal. The Alliance has always sought to guide younger species, to help them follow our path to advancement. Today, we acknowledge that this approach must change. We will continue to share our knowledge, but we will also learn from those we once thought had nothing to teach us. Elena felt tears in her eyes as the assembly erupted in approval. This was what she'd hoped for, but hadn't dared expect. Not just acceptance, but true collaboration. A future where human creativity and Alliance wisdom could work together to explore the infinite possibilities of existence. As the formal ceremony concluded, Elena found herself standing with Naira and the Chen sisters, watching the assembled representatives mingle in ways that would have been unthinkable just months ago. "You realize what this means?" Kira asked, grinning. "The galaxy's biggest tech snobs just admitted they need human chaos in their perfect systems." "Not chaos," Naira corrected gently, her crystalline form shimmering with amusement. "Perspective. Different ways of seeing, thinking, solving. The humans didn't make our technology worse. They made it more adaptable, more resilient." Sarah laughed. "Just wait until they see what else we can do. I've got some ideas for combining your quantum drives with good old-fashioned human improvisation that'll really mess with their sense of propriety." Elena watched as High Commander Vexthor approached their group, his tentacles moving in what she now recognized as barely contained excitement. "The Assembly has approved immediate funding for the new department," he announced. "They're particularly interested in exploring these backup systems humans are so fond of." Apparently, the concept of deliberately redundant systems had never occurred to us. "Probably because your primary systems never failed before meeting us," Elena smiled. "Sometimes you need to break things to make them stronger." As they discussed plans for the future, Elena felt a profound sense of rightness. The galaxy was entering a new age, not one of pure quantum perfection or human chaos, but a harmony of different approaches, different perspectives, all working together to face whatever challenges awaited them. The ancient weapons had tried to unmake reality, but in doing so, they had helped create something new. A civilization that understood that true advancement came not from following a single path, but from exploring every possibility, every perspective, every crazy human idea that just might work. And that, Elena decided as she watched Alliance representatives eagerly discussing primitive human concepts with her colleagues, was a future worth building together.